prosecution. The prosecution is not in the business of defending. The prosecution is in the business of prosecuting. So please do not write that the prosecution would utilize loss of self-control or that the prosecution would utilize diminished responsibility. They won't. This is open to and available to the defense. We think about the Criminals and Justice Act 2009. This act gives us details on both partial defenses. Specifically, when we think about loss of self-control, we are zooming into Section 54 of the Act. And at Section 54, you will find the requirements that must be satisfied by the defense if they wish to successfully rely on the defense of loss of self-control. They must show that the defendant did in fact lose self-control, that it is not a premeditated act that the defendant engaged in. In the moment, the defendant lost self-control. They must also show that his loss of self-control is connected to a qualifying trigger. You will find these qualifying triggers set out at Section 55.3 and 55.4 of the Act. It's important for you to take note of the qualifying triggers because they act as limitations. The defendant cannot rely on any random event as the justification for having lost self-control. Instead, he is limited to either 55.3 or 55.4. It's also important to know the impact of 55.6. Sometimes in the material facts, they will make reference to some affair, that the victim was engaged in some type of extramarital affair. And the defendant, being seized of that information, decided that they would kill the victim, i.e., that the defendant lost self-control in the moment and went on to kill the victim. 55.6 limits the qualifying triggers in that it expressly states that infidelity is not a qualifying trigger. The defendant cannot rely on infidelity as a qualifying trigger for his action. He cannot rely on infidelity as the justification for losing self-control. Now, infidelity could be present and could be utilized as part of a bigger picture, particularly when you think about Section 55.4 that talks about the defendant losing self-control because something was said or done that caused them to feel a justifiable sense of being seriously wrong. That thing that was said or done establishes a grave character on the part of the victim.